Hi, everybody. So this is Nicole Bradford, and I am here for one of my favorite topics. I am obsessed with neuromodulation. I think it's amazing. And so what we have for you today are not one, but two experts on that. We have Dr. Jay Sanguinetti and we have Dr. Sanjay Manchanda, and they are going to drop some science and knowledge about neuromodulation. Would you two just share with everyone a little bit about your backgrounds? And also then after that, I'm going to ask you, what are you the most excited about in the area of neurostimulation and neuromodulation?
Sure, good to be here. So my background is in cognitive neuroscience, and mostly in looking at invasive and non-invasive ways to modulate brain function. So I've worked with patients who get stimulators inserted into their brain to change their brain activity for treatments, for example, for Parkinson's disease. And more recently, my background has been in non-invasive measures, so trying to sort of use devices from outside of the head to put energy into the brain to modulate brain function.
All right, and for me, my background is originally I have a PhD in computer science, and then I stopped that for a while and became a psychotherapist and a clinician, and I've been doing that for 25 years. So in the last 15 years, I got very interested in neurofeedback and brain modulation in my clinical practice, using various ways of transferring energy into the brain to modify brain function for clinical benefit. So I've been playing around with TDCS, TES, PEMF, and photobiomodulation for many years, especially looking at improving mood, cognitive function, and attention.
That's exciting. So yeah, I've been tracking both of you for a while, and so I'm just thrilled to have you. I'm wondering, can you both say what you are the most excited about, what you think is the most interesting right now in your fields and with the modalities that we're able to now apply to the human brain?
Sure. Guess I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead.
So typically, to modulate brain function from outside of the head, people have been using electricity and magnetism. So you use little electrodes on the head, you'll pass some current over the scalp. Some of that current gets in the brain and it can change the way the brain is functioning. Very recently, my team and some other teams have been working on using focused ultrasound. So we're talking about the type of ultrasound they use to image for pregnant mothers and for looking at different parts of the body. You can actually put a focused ultrasound transducer on the head, and you can focus the energy down to pretty much any spot in the brain. And the reason that's so exciting is because all the other ways of stimulating the brain so far, they just can't reach very deeply into the brain. And so they're effective, but not as effective as if you could get all the way down and modulate different circuits. So with focused ultrasound, it sort of opens up the possibility of really hitting different targets in the brain as deep as you want, and multiple targets all at the same time. Basically meaning we can get very powerful effects on people.
And I'll go to you in a second, Sanjay, but Jay, I think you just published a paper, didn't you?
Yeah, we published a couple papers and we've submitted 3 more on this technique. And in the papers, the basic idea was try to modulate mood. And this was in the context of treating depression. We know quite a bit about the brain circuitry of depression and what goes wrong and haywire in the brain. A lot of those circuits are sort of too deep for electricity and magnetism to reach. And so we started applying this focused ultrasound technique to patients and participants who have depression-like symptoms. And basically we're able to find that we could increase their mood states and also reduce anxiety in these studies up to 4 to 5 days. And what's pretty neat about that is they're just wearing this tiny little transducer on their head, and they're getting about 2 minutes of total dose. So a very small dose led to a very big effect with this technique.
That's great. Sanjay, so what are you the most excited about, especially as a clinician?
Well, I have been in the last few years very excited about photobiomodulation. And what photobiomodulation is using infrared light to modify brain activity. In general, it's used to modify cellular activity, but I'm particularly interested in intracranial photo applications. So it turns out that if you apply infrared light to the brain, the infrared light is absorbed by the mitochondria in the cells, and it improves the respiration, the mitochondrial respiration. And it's absorbed by an enzyme called cytochrome oxidase C, which increases its electron transfer and oxygen utilization, which results in greater energy in the cell, greater ATP, and greater byproducts of respiration, which are beneficial, like nitric oxide and reactive oxygen species, which further leads to beneficial things like reduction in inflammation. So the idea is that if you apply certain bandwidths of infrared light to various cells in the body and including the brain, and then you get improved cellular energy, improved function, reduction in inflammation, and other beneficial effects. So I have found in clinical use, starting to use it, if you use LEDs and not lasers, then it's very safe. And applying it in clinical use, and some studies are also showing improved benefits in executive function, general cognitive control, especially tissue and wound healing is already used in the body for, and we're looking for these effects in the brain. So I've used it with people with strokes, with cognitive impairment, and also another thing is that if you can have a steady infrared light that will benefit the brain, or it can be pulsed. And when you pulse it, you get additional effects that are very interesting and beneficial. And so I have been using it for a few years and looking at new studies that are just coming out that are verifying these clinical effects that I've seen in my practice.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love the intersection between research and practical applications, because for all of these things, what ultimately matters is how it really affects people and how it helps improve their lives. And I also, I've been following for a while just the impact, or the so many uses of light, optogenetics, used for pain, also, infrared being able to pick up respiration, and just so many things. It's really exciting to see all of the technologies that are coming to bear. And so I'm wondering if you two would give a little bit of a sneak peek about, just if you could share with the audience what you are going to be talking about at the Transformative Technology Conference in a couple of weeks.
Sure, you broke out a little bit, but I think you asked about the Trans Tech Conference and what we were talking about.
Yeah, what are you gonna just tease us? What are you gonna talk about?
Sure, I just want to add to what you said real quick.
Yes.
Being trained as a neuroscientist, they never told you that light could influence the cells. So none of the textbooks were talking about that when I was a student. And to sort of hear about this technique and sort of thinking about how, when you're talking about putting light into the body and influencing cellular function, it's just such a cool idea. It's really exciting to see how these new technologies are sort of really guiding the field in new directions.
And you also completed a study on this.
Yeah, I did another study on that too, if you want to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, you did? Yeah, talk about it a little bit.
Sure. So most of the studies putting light into the brain have been looking at reducing inflammation and treating Alzheimer's and dementia. But in some of those studies, the patients have become better at cognitive tasks. So for a memory task, for example, they're getting better at those tasks. So we decided to take a device, put it on healthy undergraduates in my lab in New Mexico, and ask the question, can we just take a healthy brain and make it perform even better than its own baseline? So we did a simple target detection task. It's a difficult task, but simple to train people on. People usually hit a ceiling in performance very quickly, and it's very hard to move them beyond that. And basically, these people are wearing this device that's putting light into the brain while they're doing the task. And our subjects got almost 30% better in the learning task. So,
wow.
pretty amazing effect. It's actually such a big effect that none of my colleagues would believe it. You just don't see effects that big in the brain stimulation literature. So we've now replicated that 3 more times in the lab before we're going to submit it, because we want to be sure this is a real effect. And every one of the replications we've been able to replicate, and we see somewhere between 25 to 30% increase in learning. So it's pretty amazing.
Wow, that's great, because I've a lot of there was a lot of activity that was stimulated by those DARPA tests where they accelerated task acquisition for sharpshooters, and so there were a lot of people who were sort of like doing do-it-yourself neurostim, and with electricity. It seems like light's a really good option.
It's a good option, and actually we're using the same task from those studies. So that's actually the same lab that I was working in New Mexico. And back then what they were doing is using direct current. So you'd have 2 little electrodes, you're passing some current, and the person's getting that done while they're doing the training task. So we know a lot about that task and how direct current can make people better. And the question was, can we get that same effect with light? And we never hypothesized that we get a bigger effect. I mean,
it actually works better.
It's just so unbelievable. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, then, Dr. Manchanda, did you just say it works better too?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what he's saying. That it turns out that they compared the two using TDCS, the direct current stimulation, and the photobiomodulation. And the photobiomodulation is not only, it feels less invasive, there's no like burning or tingling in the skin, but it actually has better performance than the direct current.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, we could have a whole show just about that, but I want to be respectful of your time. Just share a little bit about what you're going to talk about at the conference in a couple of weeks, and that's it.
Go ahead.
Sure. So one of the other things that we've been working on, Sanjay and I, is trying to use these different brain stimulation modalities to enhance meditation. And the idea is, can we either put someone in a meditative state quicker, or can we help them learn meditation faster? So just like I was talking about with light, these people were learning this target detection task faster. Can we help them also learn meditation quicker? And maybe instead of going to a 2-week retreat, you would need a 1-week retreat to get the same benefit. So I've been using mostly focused ultrasound to try to reach that goal. And basically, we've been using the neuroimaging literature. So, they put meditators in the fMRI scanner, the magnetic resonance imaging scanner. They look at their brain maps and brain activity while they're meditating. And we know a bit about what a meditation brain looks like and what it looks like as it changes over time. And so now what we can do with focused ultrasound and these other brain stimulation tools is we can basically start targeting the different spots in the brain that we know are used during meditation and try to help people just more effectively use those brain circuits while they're meditating. So that's the sort of gist of what we'll be talking about. I started doing some of that research with focused ultrasound in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and now I'm doing that here in Palo Alto. And it's very exciting. The effects that we're seeing so far are, again, just sort of beyond belief. And I think it's partly because we're able to reach so far into the brain and sort of modulate these very fundamental and deep brain circuits. So it's very exciting.
That's really amazing. It's as you guys know, before I started working with Transformative Technology, I was in an entirely different business and had achieved a great deal of success with that. But then I went on this meditation retreat and had a really intense, profound experience, and that I walked out 10 days later happy and fearless, and in a way that I didn't even know was possible, as well as with, dramatically lower levels of rumination, which was probably why I was happy and fearless. And so, as I meet people and go throughout the world, it's just sort of like anything that would allow people to get to those benefits in a faster way, I think is extremely beneficial to mankind. So I'm really excited about that, because in the end, also, as I really was thinking about it, initially I was like, okay, let's use, technology to scale meditation. And then it was like, actually, it's the benefits of meditation. Because different people, not everyone's going to meditate, the traditional way, and not everyone has the luxury of going on retreat. I mean, going on retreat, for me to have gone into the mountains in Japan, that was a luxury. And I recognize the privilege of being able to do that. And so it's like, how do we make this such beneficial set of skills and experience and states, available to more people for the benefit of the human race? So, gosh, that's super exciting. And you have a retreat coming up, don't you?
Yeah, so that's in collaboration with Shinzen Young, a meditation teacher. We're doing that out in Vermont at a monastic retreat center. So this is a serious, full-time, you wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate till 9 p.m. type of retreat center. And it's the first of its kind where we're mixing in brain stimulation into that setting. So these will be, half the people will be coming in to do a 1-week retreat. The other half will be actually monks living at the retreat center full time. And everybody's getting brain stimulation while they're going through the retreat.
Oh my God. So last night I had dinner with Ramez Nam, who wrote Nexus. Mm-hmm. And that scene in Nexus where all the monks are basically connected via a neurostimulate, like a neuro device. So I need to email him and tell him about that. Oh my God, he would have been so excited. Oh, that's cool.
And the device we're using is from a friend of ours, Bashar Badran, who I think you interviewed a couple of weeks ago. And so it's like all the pieces are now there, and it's just like everything is coming into play to sort of make this happen. As the first step, we're starting slow. We're not going to like enlightening people right away from the first 2 seconds or something, but it's like we're able to sort of get to the point where all these things are coming into the same context, and we're going to see where it goes. It's really kind of exciting.
Yeah, the interview that we did with Bashar was awesome, because he was just talking about I have a lot of things that I'm fascinated with, and one of which is the vagus nerve bundle. Mm-hmm. Like, I just think it's magic or magical, and just what a important nerve bundle it is in the human body. And there's been FDA devices coming out targeting that for migraines and some other things, and so it's just really exciting to have in this area your work, vagus nerve, just the uses that can support human psychology. I was just talking to someone, and I think the 3 biggest challenges facing mankind: 1 is the environment, 2 is income disparity, and the 3rd one is the human mind. And I don't think that we solve the first 2 without really making progress on the human mind. And all of the ways that people learn how to support themselves, mentally and emotionally, how they learn how to be healthy, healthy and happy mentally and emotionally. All of that is, we don't teach it anywhere. People don't learn these skills. They're not widely available. And it's like the biggest problem that we have going on. So this is really exciting. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Sanjay, what will you be chatting about at the conference?
Well, very much along the same lines. Just For example, in the meditation retreat in Mamadi was talking about, we'll be using TDCS, Bashar's TDCS device. So I'll be talking about just generally first doing an overview of the idea of, transferring energy to the brain at different intensities and frequencies, and what kind of effects have been looked at, and what are the new things we're discovering there, and particularly looking at different ways of using this energy transfer in different modes, whether it be electrical, electromagnetic, or light, and how that can be used to produce more beneficial mind states, to very much address the very problem you're talking about. Because I agree with you, unless we address the problem of the human mind, we're not going to address the other human problems. So that's our focus, that's my focus. And then how do we bring technology to bear in that, and what my clinical experience and teaching experience has been in that field as well.
Wow. Yay. Oh, gosh. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, everybody. We're going to put links to the papers and other things and sites for both Dr. Sanguinetti and Dr. Manchanda in the links below. The Transformative Technology Conference is coming up on November 9th and 10th. And if you're into this kind of thing, it is the only place to be. And so thank you guys very much for your time, with deep appreciation for your work. And I'll see you later.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Bye.